What would Dark Type Pokemon look like in a Brazil-inspired Pokemon region? Whoa, excuse me. I see you. Yes, you getting ready to use that grimy, Cheeto-covered finger of yours to either fast forward or dare I say exit my video? Come on now. Don't be hasty. We're like 50 seconds in and I'm just getting warmed up, I promise. I mean, I think we can all agree that these new Dark Type designs slap, right? You haven't even learned all the cool tidbits or Brazilian inspirations behind them, especially given the dark nature of a lot of Brazilian folklore and monsters. So come on, what is it then? Is it my abnormally high, shrill voice for a grown man? Look, I can lower it if you'd like. Or I know, maybe you think I've grown complacent and you are about to have to sit through the same minute-long bop of an intro for the 100th time. Well, if so, think again. I am proud to inform you that I have since evolved. Well, as a creator. But seriously, all jokes aside, what do you say we take a look at some Brazil-inspired Dark Type Pokemon? Some of the Dark types hailing from other regions you could expect to find in a Brazil-inspired Pokemon region, or in this case, the Zonhe region, are the Nickit line, inspired by Brazil's Horai Fox, found scavenging through some of its more populated areas, along with one of my personal favorites, the Houndour line, while Pokemon such as Lokix and Murkrow could be found terrorizing the crops within the region's farmlands. Sableye could be found within its dark caves and gold mines. The Swiftry line would fit right at home in the forested areas of the region, along with plenty of other dark types that would emerge at night like the Stunky line, with just as many dark types found in the region's arid deserts like the Sandile line buried in the sand, Cacturn, and the Scraggy line, with dark types such as the maniacal Malamar line in the region's colorful coral reefs, as well as Carvanha and Sharpedo along the region's coasts and out at sea. You could even find Pokemon such as Spiritomb or the Impidimp line within the region's graveyard, as Grimmsnarl even has its own pool-exclusive Dreammerge fusion with mascot Ofendinga, known as Nefarious, winner of the Dreammerge contest brought to life by the talented Jeremon. However, I'd like to start this video off strong by introducing a new Dark type found throughout the Zonhe region, Savagatos. Savagatos scurry around the streets at the dark of night in search of scraps. If they're hungry enough, they'll even nibble at an unsuspecting Trubbish. Its name being a play on savage, and gatos being the Portuguese word for cat, as this is the feral cat Pokemon after all, as it's inspired by all the stray cats found throughout Brazil, and boy are there a lot of them, especially in its bigger cities like Sao Paulo. So needless to say, Savagatos can be found in similar areas within the Zonhe region, scurrying through its streets and alleys in search of food and shelter, which is why it appears so ghastly and sickly looking, with a sunken-in body and face and uneven patches of fur, not to mention a spooky color palette. And while the single-stage Pokemon may not look like much, it's quite scrappy, especially with its signature attack Scrap Meal, which does double damage against Poison-type Pokemon, as that's what this Pokemon feeds on, in addition to abilities usually held by Poison-type Pokemon, such as Stench. Savagatos can even learn some Poison-type attacks, such as Poison Fang and Cross Poison. Savagatos, being a physical attacker, can also learn an array of sneaky Dark-type attacks, such as Feint Attack, Pursuit, Crunch, Hone Claws, and Night Slash. Being the region's cat Pokemon, it can even learn the rare move Assist. Savagatos is a Pokemon Pull exclusive, while its canine counterpart, the adorable Caramutt, which I'll be introducing in my upcoming Fairy-type inspired video, is a Pokemon Push exclusive. Given the fact these two single-stage Pokemon are found early on in the Zonhe region, they'll most likely find a place on plenty of early game teams before being kicked to the curb for something stronger, if not permanently adopted, who knows. Their signature attacks alone make them quite the additions to any trainer's team, but unlike its beloved counterpart, whom is a favorite amongst trainers and families in the Zonhe region, the stray and sickly looking Savagatos native to the Zonhe region aren't as popular as their off-putting appearance and stench scares most people away. So maybe you'll be willing to give one a chance on your team in the Zonhe region. If so, make sure to go give artist Fakemon a shout out, as he's the one who brought this Pokemon and its counterpart Caramutt to life. Another early game Dark type native to the Zonhe region, if not the very first Dark type most trainers will encounter as early as Route 1 Sonadare Road, is the mischievous Marsuplay, based on the nocturnal opossum found in Brazil. as it should come as no surprise that many of the Dark-type Pokemon in the Zonhe region are nocturnal and only emerge at night. Its name being a play on Marsuple, the species it's inspired by, and play as in a theatric show or production, as like real-life possums, it's quite the little performer and often playing dead to get attention, but nowhere near as dramatic as its evolution, the overdramatic Thespossum. Thespossum are natural performers putting on full-length productions in the wilderness beneath the full moon alongside their Marsuplay offspring, who essentially act as the ensemble cast members in their parents' productions. Like its pre-evolution, often playing dead, bringing out its fake tears, or putting on a show for anyone willing to watch, as it tries to steal the show with its sneaky tactics and attacks. Make no mistake, this cunning Pokemon, while being found so early on, is a fine addition to any trainer's team with the signature ability Understudy, where if it's switched in, it temporarily copies the ability of the Pokemon it replaces, as well as its signature move Curtain Call it learns later on in its late 60s, which is like a Dark-type Last Respects, doing more damage for every fainted Pokemon in your party, as it's kind of making its final bow or Curtain Call, both of which make this Pokemon quite viable, so make sure to have a Dusk Ball handy and be ready to grind, as there's a lot more to this niche Pokemon than meets the eye. But the real star of this show is the talented artist, an artist astray, as he brought this line to life. Not gonna lie, if I were a Pokemon, I'd most likely be a Thespossum. As you can clearly see, I have a flair for the dramatics. And yes, I am a theater kid if it wasn't obvious. Or dare I say, a true thespian. And to be honest, Dark types are even some of my favorite Pokemon as well, so I would happily be a Thespossum. I'm just not sure I could pull off that fit or rat stash. Now, if you've been watching this series faithfully, you'll probably know that I originally had Thespossum as the ace Pokemon of a version-exclusive Dark Gym Leader, sharing the stage with a musically inclined Normal-type Gym Leader in the opposite version. However, I've since made some changes and decided to go a different route by having one of the Team Orbit bosses, Ricardo, specialize in the Dark type instead. And if he looks familiar, it's because he was introduced in the DLC of my Fearin series saga, as he was the Frontier Brain and Casino boss for the Battle Casino. But I'll get more into this vertically challenged crime boss later on in the video as I introduce more of the Dark-type Pokemon found on his diabolical team, which does, however, still feature a show-stopping Thespossum, I might add. It's just no longer his ace, which I'll be introducing later on in this video. However, while not on Ricardo's team, I think it's safe to say one of the most devious Dark types found in the Zonhe region is without a doubt the final stage of the Fire Starter Mbeak and its evolution Flora, known as Chamaka. This Scarlet Macaw and Jester inspired Pokemon gains the Dark typing due to its dark inspirations from the Brazilian myth of Saucy, but fear not, since I've already covered this Pokemon a couple times now, I'll spare you the recap as I'm sure you're dying to see some more of these new Dark type Pokemon. And quite frankly, it's 2 AM and I want to get this over with, and at least attempt to go to bed. Anyways, so if you're new to my channel or this series and you want to learn even more about the myth of Saucy, or about Chamaka, and the other 2 starters brought to life by the talented Fakemans, and their final stages, who are also inspired by insanely cool dark Brazilian folklore creatures, make sure to circle back later after this video and check it out. It's one of my absolute favorites in this series, especially as it even features the artist Fakemans. Another familiar face in native dark type I'd like to quickly recap is the bittersweet regional Zonhenian Bounsweet line, inspired by the acai berry in Brazil, now being a dark type referencing this berry's dark bluish purple coloring, as well as the fact that raw, this berry tastes extremely bitter and tart, with what many people describe as hints of dark chocolate and blackberry flavors. And this line's sassy personality, bird Pokemon such as Toucanon and Gloreagle are always trying to eat it until getting a taste of its bitter juices, in which they spit them right out. But it's time to evolve Bounsweet into Zonhenian Steenee. These sassy Pokemon like to use their funky dance moves and powerful kicks to knock berries down from trees. Zonhenian Steenee evolves once more into Zonhenian Tsareeena. These sassy Pokemon like to smash acai berries with their feet and dance around spreading the berries' dark juices to help attract an audience, which take even more inspiration from the acai trees' beautiful branches, which I thought resembled braids, which braids are a very popular hairstyle in Brazil and often worn by one of Brazil's most famous pop artists, Anitta, who also kind of inspired this line, as she is just such a badass. Maintaining lots of its grass-type moves, including its signature move Drop Kick, but also now learning Dark-type moves, such as Knock Off and Brutal Swing. I worked with a talented Brazilian artist, Mom's Art, to make these regionals, so if you like them, please make sure to go check out his work. Another gruesome Dark-type I'm sure has probably left quite the impression on a lot of you, as it was one of the ghastly Pokemon featured in last year's Halloween special, is Ghost Dark-type Cruelca, the final stage of the Cayman-inspired Caidron line, taking inspiration from the Brazilian crocodile witch Cruelca. With the first stage doubling as a witch's cauldron, with its acid saliva bubbling out, and its evolution the Cucavile being even more reminiscent of the Cuca witch, and a bridge between its first and final stage, using the spells cast by throwing ingredients into its cauldron-like mouth to conjure evil spirits that end up possessing it in this case, causing it to evolve into the fearsome Cruelca, explaining why it only gains the dark typing after evolving, as its evolution was only brought upon by this sinister spirit. And being a poison type prior to evolving, this Pokemon learns plenty of powerful poison type moves, such as Poison Fang, Poison Tail, or Sludge Bomb, in addition to ghost type attacks of course, such as Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, or Hex. And of course dark type moves since evolving, such as Night Slash, Dark Pulse, or Crunch. The Cruelca line was brought to life by the iconic artist Tubbs_AZ, who I have no doubt you all already know by now. If not, you're living under a rock. And you're welcome. Okay, now that all the rehashed designs are out of the way, we can dive even further into some of the newer dark types native to Zony, in this case being the dark water type Pokemon, Pokerucu. Pokerucu are competitive Pokemon often going through great lengths to exhaust the resources of the other Pokemon found lurking within the fresh waters of the Zonhe region. While Zony has a handful of fish Pokemon, Pokerucu is the most prominent one found in the waters of the Zonhe region's rivers, lakes, and other fresh bodies of water, including its Pantanal wetlands. So if you were to go fishing with your fishing rod in any of these environments, this would 9 times out of 10 be the Pokemon you'd end up reeling in. Think Magikarp, but better of course. Pokerucu is inspired by one of the most iconic and largest fish species in Brazil, particularly within the murky waters of the Amazon River, the Pirarucu. This fish is even the focus of a local legend in Brazil, which is partly responsible for its dark typing, but this tale is even more relevant to its evolution, so I'll get into that in just a bit. But I decided to take its dark typing a step further and give it a poker concept, as many consider gambling to be a sin, or at the very least associated with shady or even criminal behavior, which I'm fairly certain isn't the case, at least not always, but it certainly is here in the Zonhe region, thanks to Shady Team Orbit and casino boss Ricardo, of course. But I'm sure terms like poker face and sleight of hand didn't come from nowhere after all. And as I'm sure you already deduced, this poker concept is responsible for its black, white, and red coloring, with poker face shapes incorporated into its fins, but what you may have not noticed is that its body and scales also resemble a stack of poker chips. The decision to incorporate this concept was not only to add more fantastical elements to this design, as this species has clearly been done many times within the Fakemon community, so I wanted to put my own spin on it, and thought this would be a fun take, especially with how big poker is in Brazil, both live and even more so online. Poker both online and live is thriving in Brazil. Unlike many forms of gambling that were previously restricted in the country, poker has long been recognized as a game of skill under Brazilian law, paving the way for its significant growth and popularity. Brazil even boasts one of the world's largest and fastest growing online poker markets, believe it or not, with a player base expanding significantly in recent years. This has even drawn major international poker operators to the country. So I felt this concept was fitting, especially with casino boss Ricardo from the Zonhe region already being introduced in a previous project. So obviously all these poker elements are carried over and expanded upon even further in its evolution, Acepaima's design, resembling a poker card even more, with even more white and black poker face shapes incorporated into its scales. Acepaima have quite the poker face, using shady tactics underneath the water to outmaneuver their foes and ravage them when they least expect it. This evolution also takes even more inspiration from the large and uniquely shaped body of the infamous Amazon fish it's inspired by, the Arapaima. Its name being a play on ace, like within poker, and once again the fish species it's modeled after, just now taking from its other alias. whose scales even have a red hue to them, which is actually what caused me to come up with this concept in the first place, as this iconic Brazilian fish species is obviously found in almost every single Brazilian Fakemon dex, and once again I was determined to do something completely out of the left field for my approach. And thanks to Zony's themes of creativity, I really tried to have fun with it and think outside the box, and I also wanted something very colorful, so I thought the red coloring would really make it pop and stand out. Especially as most other Fakemon surrounding this species are smart to draw from the Brazilian myths surrounding it, which I myself obviously did in subtle ways such as its dark typing, or more monstrous size and design. But I'd actually like to circle back to that myth to give you even more context. Now, this tale doesn't exactly paint this fish in the best light, I'm not gonna lie, portraying it as a monstrous, evil-spirited fish transformed from a disobedient son of an Amazon chief, capable of knocking fishermen from their boats and dragging them to their depths. This ruthless Pokemon would learn relentless water-type attacks such as Aqua Jet, Aqua Tail, Liquidation, in addition to Dark-type moves such as Knock Off, Brutal Swing, Payback, and Foul Play. These two Pokemon were brought to life by the one, the only, Fungus Fakemon, the legend himself. And in case it wasn't already clear, this powerful Pokemon would also act as the true ace Pokemon of the previously mentioned Dark-type specialist and Team Orbit boss Ricardo, who will be cashing out his poker chips at the Fearon Region's Battle Casino and be returning home to the Zonhe region where he is from to stir up some trouble. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce a Brazil-Japanese hybrid Pokemon found in the high-tech city of Sao Tekio, infused with Japanese and Tokyo-like elements as reference to the large Japanese population found in Brazil, particularly within Sao Paulo. The Pokemon in question being the cute little chimp Pokemon, Kapuki. Kapuki is a dark fighting type Pokemon inspired by the white-faced Saki monkey found in Brazil, which is a black monkey with a white face, almost resembling a mask, which is why I chose to take inspiration from Japanese Kabuki theater, as the white face from the Saki monkey made for the perfect canvas for the white Kabuki mask and its beautiful red markings, which really pop along this simplistic design. But the smaller, more chimp-like stage nearly scratches the surface of this traditional Japanese concept, as its evolution, the fierce Kasaki, raises the stakes. Its name being a play on Kabuki and Saki, as in, well, you know. Kasaki double as both seasoned performers and disciplined fighters whose every move tells a story. As Kabuki is a traditional Japanese form of theater that began in the 17th century, I think, and is known for its elaborate, costumes and music and dance. The word Kabuki actually translates to song and dance, reflecting these core components of the art form, usually featuring dramatic and complex storytelling, historical themes, and even unique stagecraft, such as costume or set changes, and even revolving stages, which is why this Pokemon's signature move, Set Change, not only removes all terrains upon entering the battle, such as grassy terrain, electric terrain, psychic terrain, you name it, but randomly changes to a new terrain as well, so it might change it from grassy terrain to misty terrain. Whereas if there are no active terrains when entering the battle, this Pokemon will still generate a new terrain at random. Now this Pokemon of course still sports the same red markings from the Kabuki mask across its white face, with the Saki's black and white coloring once again lending itself perfectly to the robes worn by the Kabuki actors, with its long tails wrapping around its waist to make the infamous belt around their garments, striking a fierce Kabuki-inspired pose, as Kabuki is once again a mix of theater and martial arts, hence its dark and fighting typing. The dark typing representing the drama and theatric side of this art form, similar to Thespossum are moves like Fake Tears, and the fighting typing representing the more physical dance and martial arts related elements to the craft, with this concept lending itself perfectly to the creative and artsy themes found throughout the Zonhe region, and its bipedal, more human-like design in this stage offering some more variety to the Zonhe dex. Now being a fighting type, it is a physical attacker, but actually fairly tanky and defensive as well, able to flip the script with tactical moves such as Detect, Wide Guard, Counter, and Reversal, in addition to hard-hitting attacks such as Force Palm and Close Combat. Its Dark-type techniques include relentless moves such as Brutal Swing, Sucker Punch, and Parting Shot, and plenty more. While these two monkey Pokemon can occasionally be found climbing around the skyscrapers of the technological metropolis of Sao Tekio, they are most prominently found within the city's beautiful Japanese-inspired park, home to various cherry blossom gardens and Japanese temples and dojos, many of which you can find these Pokemon training at alongside their Pokemon trainers. Would the Kasaki line make your team in the Zonhe region? Let me know in the comments below, and if so, please go support my good friend, artist, Fungus Fakemon, as he absolutely delivered with these designs. Kasaki can also be found on Team Orbit boss Ricardo's team, along with other diabolical Dark Type Pokémon who are just as cunning and cutthroat as him. While Team Orbit boss Ricardo usually has others, in this case the members of Team Orbit, do his dirty work for him, he isn't opposed to getting his hands dirty when necessary, and he's also known to fight dirty, doing whatever it takes to win, even if that means cheating or sabotaging his opponents and their Pokemon. To learn more about Cyberbully's Team Orbit and their agenda, make sure to check out my recent Psychic type video. Now I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. You know the drill. Show your boy some love and make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button. I'd also love to hear which of these Dark type Pokemon make it on your team in the Zonhe region, if any.